Hello. Thank you for staying tuned to my channel where we simplify the practice of quantity surveying. Welcome to another episode where we shall be building up rate for 150 micron epoxy self-leveling floor finish. Uh, I want us to have it at the back of our minds that uh, the thickness differs depending on the usage. Uh, you so what we needed to pay attention to when building up this range, this such rate is for us to read through the description in the bill. First, we know what thickness the client wants. If it is 100 micron, if it is a 150 micron, if it is a 250, if it is a 300 micron. And like I did say, depending on the usage, say uh, you are you are applying or you are applying epoxy in a factory where there are heavy equipment movement, you is expected to be thicker, thicker in terms of micron. And if it is where it's just human traffic, where just the foot movement, the micron will be less in terms of thickness. So those are the things one of the things we needed to pay attention to. Then secondly, we pay attention to either if the crafter of the bill specified a particular brand that we needed to use because epoxy is an expensive material. And if you don't pay attention, though, yes, the crafter of the bill could refer to a particular brand or equivalent. And even if you can't find that particular brand, if you find something that is equivalent, you're not expected to say when the client specifies, say, a first rock brand, if you're going to source for equivalent, you are going to go for either somebody that has a brand that has no name and does not have track record of where it has been applied. So if you say there is it said an equivalent, you are going for a Sika product, then which means they are upper in terms of quality, because these brands prices are always very high, and there are other smaller brands that would do the same work, give you the same, give you the same, give you the same outcome, appearance, uh, but their prices are cheaper. So if maybe because you want to be competitive in terms of your pricing, you had gone to take a cheaper brand to build up your rate, and after the award, the client is insisting he wants something closer to, in terms of brand name, to what he has specified, then you're going to run into problem. Like I could give you a typical example because I had used it recently. Uh, the first rock brand, which I am going to use for my illustration, the quality, the price is higher compared to another company here in Nigeria that produces the same epoxy. The brand, the say Apex material. Their material is like half the price of First Rock, but you still have the same quality, the same appearance, but in terms of name, in terms of name, uh, First Rock has the name more than the Apex brand. So, having said that, another thing again, you needed to consider when you are building up rates for 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 epoxy self-leveling is to check if it is an already finished floor. You're only coming to you're only coming to do the epoxy. Then you have to look at the floor, look at how smooth the floor is, because if the floor is not properly done, it will consume more material. So you check the undulation on the floor because it is self-leveling. So it is expected that every place you have depression on the floor, the epoxy self-leveling is to fill in those spots and bring it to perfect level. And at the same time, you check the pulse. But in some cases, if you see that those are the uh, the uh, the floor is not properly finished and it has a lot of pulse, what you needed to do is now either buy calcium, mix it with the primer, then you prime it. It will now cover up the those pores and some of the rough areas before you begin to apply. That by so doing, you reduce uh, your cost. But if it's a new floor, of course, you are the contractor doing the job. You are going to cast the floor. You are going to shine the floor with either power trowel or manual shining. So you must make sure you guide the masons in charge to make sure that they do it properly, so that in the end you are not going to spend more money doing the epoxy floor finish. So having said that, if it is a floor that is well finished, yes, the first preliminary job you needed to do is to grind the floor. You grind the floor, grind the floor to make it somehow slightly rough. Then also the grinding will help to remove all the cement what do you call it? The cement splash on the floor. You remove it. You sweep the floor of the dust. You sweep the floor of the dust. Then you can now prime. Then before the epoxy itself. Sorry, I am taking us to the practical uh, aspect of it, but we needed to understand, because if you understand how it's been done on site, uh, you you can apply that knowledge in building up your rate. But if you don't understand how it's being done on site, a tendency for you not to understand how to build a rate, or underprice or overprice. So in either way, you might be harming yourself. So having said that, uh, like I said, we are going to use the the first rock products to build our rate. As at uh, now, a bucket of the FC 150 for first rock is a 323,900 and 897 naira 43 kobo, while the primer is 477,200 and 224 naira per bucket of 20 liters. So you have the coverage for the self-leveling epoxy as 15 square meter. Every brand has their coverage. So if you check through their technical data sheet, you will see the coverage. It tells you the coverage by each thickness, ranging from 100 micron, 250 micron, 150 micron. It is all in their technical data. So it is not something you needed to reinvent, something that is already existing. So you pick those coverages from their technical data and apply. So For the primer, it has a coverage of 80 square meter. Then the grinding metal grinding discs can grind 5,000 square meter. It can grind 5,000. No, the price is the 5,000. 5,000 5,000 naira per piece of the metal grinding discs. It is assumed that the grinding machine is part of the tools that the applicator will bring, so that you don't need to hire. So, and one disc can grind up to a 500 square meter. So, having gotten all of this parameter, let's go to the table proper. Yeah, for 1 square meter, of course, like I did said, if the floor is not properly shined, there are undulations, definitely the consumption to fill in those depressions on the floor to bring it to level, the epoxy is going to cover those areas. So I am applying 5%, which usually sometimes it could range up to 10%, meaning between 5 and 10% waste because of the undulation on the floor. So if you divide if you divide your the if you divide a 477 by 80, it gives you 5,000 for the primer plus the waste. It gives you 6,263. Then the epoxy has a coverage of 15 square meter. If you divide 15 by 323, you're having a 593. And if you multiply, you add the waste, it gives you 22,671 per square meter. Like I did said, if you divide the 5,000 by 500 square area that one of the grinding discs can grind, you have a 10 naira per square meter. Then the transport, of course, my 5-ton dyna can take a 200 bucket, and this is the cost for loading, offloading. By the time you and the total square area for the 200 drums. The total square area for the 200 drums, since it's a 14 square meter, each drum can cover. So it will give you a 2,800 square meter. So if you divide it by the cost of transport and offloading, you have 30 naira per square meter, which is this. So by the time you sum the amount together, you're having a 28,000. The labor cost also varies from 1,005 to 2,000. You know, the roller for priming, you cannot reuse it as many times as you can. So you needed to buy it. So it consumes roller, and consume there are other consumables, hand gloves that the applicator has to buy for his workers and all of that. Then those things cost money. So that is why usually their prices are as high as 1,000, 2,000, or 2,005, depending on the location you find yourself. So if you sum up the labor and the material, you're going to get the 30,000, 30,000 per square meter. Like I said the brand, the cost for each brand differs. So before you raise an eyebrow whenever you see a price for an epoxy coat, you should first of all ask questions on the type of brand they had used to build up their rate, because probably you've seen a quote that either the price is either lesser than this before, and you just assume that it ought to be the same everywhere, but unknowing that if the brand specified in the bill is of higher quality, the price has to be high. So you have to first compare the brand or the specification in the bill that you are trying to refer to, that the price is cheaper compared to what you are either seeing or somebody is presenting to you. You have to check to know what brand, the shade of brand they are using before you can run into conclusion to say their prices are high or their prices are low. I think I've been able to do justice on this, and if it has impacted you in one way or the other, please uh, don't be selfish with knowledge. Uh, share, share so that others can as well benefit, and we are uh, building ourselves so that we can always be proud wherever we find ourselves as quantity surveyors. So we needed to ensure that we give out knowledge, we give out knowledge to those that needed it, so that together we can be strong, and together our voices can be loud. Thank you for watching, and above all, subscribe to my channel. See you next.